Hi guys, welcome to the 10th part of the Django social network project. In this one we are going to handle a couple of things, and I think the most important thing that we need to know before we begin is that in Django models there's an interface called manager which is responsible for the communication with the database. So while creating query sets we use objects as the default model manager for each model, but we can extend it very easy to organize our code just a little bit better. So this is what we are going to do in this video. With the help of the custom manager, we are going to get invitations received from different users, all the profiles in our system, excluding of course ourselves, and finally all the profiles that we can invite to our friends. So yeah, let's get started. Alright guys, so the first thing that we need to do is to head over to the models.py file, and yeah, we will come back to the profile just a little bit later. Let's begin with a little bit more easy example with the relationship. So above the relationship class, let's create another one called relationship manager, which inherits from models.manager. And inside we are going to create one method which will be called invitations received. So this will give us all the invitations that we received from different users. So this will take in a self and also the receiver, where the receiver is going to be ourselves. So if we look at this field, receiver is a foreign key to the profile, so we will need to pass in our profile as the receiver. For now, I'm just going to write down pass because I want to visualize how this is going to work. Instead of writing in the views.py something like relationship objects all or filter, we are going to write down invitations received. Okay, and we are going to pass this let's call let's call this my profile as the variable, and this will give us all the relationship received for this particular profile. So hopefully this is understandable. This won't work just yet because this method needs to return something and we need to instantiate our relationship manager. So yeah, let's do it very quickly. I'm going to put in a query set and I'm just going to write down relationship objects filter, and the receiver is going to be the receiver that we pass over here, and the status has to be set to send. Here are our status choices, and if it's accepted, that means basically that we are friends and this invitation no longer exists. So it has to be with the status sent. And we simply need to return the QS. So this is a very simple example. We could do it directly in the views.py file, but I think it's better to understand on how this works with a simple example before we do one which will be a little bit more complex. So as the final thing, in order to have this working, we need to write down objects is equal to relationship manager. Okay, this way we are extending our existing manager. So yeah, right now what we can do is to simply go to the views, and yeah, over here let's create a function view which will be probably later on extended or refactored to a class-based view. But for now, let's just keep things very simple. Let's call this function maybe something like invites received view, which will take in a request, and let's write a query set with the use of relationships. So we actually need to import relationship first, and relationship, and then objects. And now we want to use invitations received. Okay, so this is it, and it will take in a receiver. So we don't have this receiver right now, but we can borrow it from here. So profile, copy, paste, and now we can pass in this profile. Okay, so now we are getting all the invitations for this particular profile, which is our profile because we are setting the user to be equal request.user. Let's create a context variable, which will be a dictionary where the key will be QS and the value will be QS. And then let's return render. Let's pass in the request. We need to set up a template name, so it will be profiles, and then maybe something like my invites HTML. So this is something that we will create in just a second, and over here we need to pass in this context dictionary. So we are passing this QS to our template that we are going to create in a second. But first, let's save the views.py file. Let's head over to the urls.py where we are going to register this view. So let's define a new path. Maybe let's call it my invites. Okay. Now we need to pass in the view. So what was it called? How was it called? How did we call it? Invites received view. Okay, so let's put it over here, and the name, let's set it to my invites view. All right, so now we can go ahead and save it, and we need to create this my invites HTML inside the profiles. So let's just write down my invites HTML, and this will extend the base HTML. So we are inheriting from base HTML, and then the block title, let's just set this to be equal my invites, and in the block content we are going to create a list with some list items coming from a loop. So let's write for I'm just going to put in an item in QS, and we want to list out this list item over here. So let's go to our admin, and let's take a look at the relationships. And we have some kind of an error. Okay, in the views, in the URL, sorry. Okay, we didn't actually import this invites received view, so sorry about that. Let's try this out again. Okay, so in the admin we have only one relationship which is already accepted. Okay, so if we head over to my invites, so we are at profiles, so we need to go to not posts but profiles, and then my invites, we won't see anything. So let's create an additional relationship. Um, we have to be the receiver, so select your profile from here, and in my case the test user will be the sender and the status will be sent. I'm going to press save and I'm going to hit refresh, and there it is. So here is our first invitation. Of course, later on the form will be completely different. It will look much nicer. We will be able to accept this invitation, reject it, and so on. But for now, this is a good sign that, yeah, we actually see this in the browser. So let's leave it as it is for now, and let's tackle in the models py file the profile manager, which we need to create. So let's write a class called profile manager, which inherits from models.manager, and here we are going to define some methods, but also let's not forget to instantiate it. So objects is equal to profile manager. All right. And inside this class, as mentioned before, we will create two methods. And yeah, let's begin with the easier one. So we want to get all the profiles that are in the system, excluding our own. So let's write down get all profiles, which will take in a self and a me. And I will explain this in just a second. So let's create a variable called profiles and set it to profile objects all, and we want to exclude our own. So in the profile class we have a user which is set to request.user. So here we are referencing the profile and we need to exclude it by this user field. So here we will pass in the user, which will be set to me. Okay, and now we just simply need to return, and we want to return the profiles. So this is an easy example. Let's tackle the more complex one. Here we would like to get all the profiles that are available for us to invite. So we need to exclude the cases of profiles where we are already in a relationship. So I'm just going to put in get all profiles to invite, and this will take in a self and a sender because we need to know who is the sender, and the sender in this case will be of course ourselves. Okay, so we want to send an invitation. So if we go to the relationship model, so that the receiver actually receives it. Okay, so the sender will be always us and the receiver will be a different user with whom we don't have a relationship status set to accepted. Okay, and yeah, let's begin with creating our profiles variable, and this will be profile objects, and we want to write down all, and also we want to exclude the user, which is going to be set to the sender. Okay, so this is very similar. Over here we could also put in the sender. If you want to change it to me or to sender, it's just up to you guys. I decided to name it like this because here we are actually the sender, and here we are just displaying the list of all the profiles. So I'm going to leave it as it is. Then we need to grab our profile, and this will be profile objects, and then get. We want to get it again by the user, and this is going to be set to sender again. And we also need a query set. So the profiles relate to this class, and those are just the profiles, but the relationships, the invitations are coming through this model. So we need to grab all the relationships where we are the sender or we are the receiver. So later we can eliminate the ones with the status accepted. So let's write relationship objects, and then we want to filter, and we have to check two cases because we can either be the sender or we can either be a receiver. So to explain this on an example, we can have a relationship with a different user where we invited this particular person or this particular person invited us. Okay, so hopefully now this is clear, and we will need to use queue. So from Django DB models import queue, and this will help us to construct this query set. So let's use queue where the sender is our profile or where the receiver is our profile. Okay, so this now takes care of two use cases, where we are the sender or where we are the receiver. And now what we need to do is to set up an list, and it will be an empty list, and we want to loop through this query set. So for, let's call this rel as relationship in QS, we want to check if the relationship status is equal to accepted. Okay, and if this is the case, we want to add the receivers and senders to this accepted list, because later we want to eliminate them from being displayed. Okay, because those profiles are the ones that already are friends with us. Okay, so if this is the case, that means we are friends, and we are going to write down accepted append, and we want to put in rel receiver and accepted append rel sender. All right. And just to be sure that we are on the same page, let's do a print QS over here, and here let's do a print accepted, and we will do another print, but first we need to define a variable called available, and this is going to be a list of all the available profiles to invite. So we will do some list comprehension over here. What we want to do is to reference these profiles where we are excluding ourselves, but we also want to exclude the ones in the accepted. So what we can do is to, as mentioned before, use list comprehension. So profile for profile in profiles, and then we need to simply write an if statement if profile is not in accepted. Okay, so over here we are creating a list of profiles. Okay, we are using referencing this variable over here. We are looping through all the profiles excluding our own, and additionally we are checking if not in accepted. So if it's not in accepted, it will be added to the available list. And now we can write down print available, and we can simply return available. Okay, so now we can actually save it and jump into the views. Okay, so over here let's create another one called profiles list view, and this will of course take in a request. And basically what we can do is to copy this part over here, and instead of the profile, let's just head over to the models for just a second. We are talking about get all profiles. So this has to take in a user. And yeah, that's the most important part. Let's just copy this get all profiles. Here we want to set the user to be equal the request.user, and here we want to pass in this user. And now we can, here nothing changes, and we just simply need to change the template name. Let's call this maybe a profile list HTML, something like this. And yeah, let's save this, and let's register this view in the URLs py, and then let's create this template. So in the URLs py file, I'm just going to copy this path, and I'm going to write down all profiles, and we need to import the view, so profile list view, and the name will be all profiles view. All right, and the missing part is the templates. So in the profiles, let's create this template over here, profile list HTML. So I'm just going to copy this name, and then inside the profiles, I'm going to paste this name. And what I'm going to do next is to go to my invites, copy this code, because we are also referencing a query set, and in the profile list I'm just going to paste it, and here I'm going to write down all profiles. So now if we go ahead and save this, let's just go back to the URLs, and here we can go to copy this and put it over here in the browser after the profiles. And here we have relationship manager. Okay, so this is because you shouldn't do copy and paste, or you should do it very carefully. And yeah, here we aren't referencing the relationship, but the profile. Okay, so profile objects get all profiles. It's complaining that we have no attribute get all profiles, but here we had in the query set the relationship model. So yeah, no surprise here that we get this attribute error. Now if we save this, refresh, here are the profiles that are created in the system a part of our own. So if we head over to the profiles, we have 3 profiles. This one is ours, so these 2 are the additional ones. Okay, so now let's take a look at, actually maybe let's create another user very quickly. Users, and add a user. I'm just going to add a test user 4. Let's have an additional user so we can understand better what's going on. Home, profiles, and here is our test user 4. We don't have a test user 3 actually. Okay, so let me create a test user 3 very quickly. Users, test user 3, save. Let's save, and let's go to the profiles, and we have test user 3 as well. Okay, so right now what we can do is to create this. I'm going to copy it again, but this time I'll do it more carefully, I promise. and here we want to have a profiles list available to invite. So let's call this invite profile list view, and here we want to reference not get all profiles, but if we head over to the models py, we want to get all profiles to invite, and this will take in sender as well. So let's go over here, and let's put it over here. So here nothing changes, we still accepting a user, and yeah, here we had the same situation. So what we need to do next is to create a template. This will be invite list HTML maybe, or to invite HTML, to invite list HTML. Okay, let's leave it like this. I'm going to copy this. Maybe later we will change this the naming, but for now let's just leave it as it is. I'm just going to copy this and put it inside the profiles to invite list HTML. And yeah, before we actually do that, let's go to the URLs. Let's bring this invite profile list view. Let's register it. The path will be, let's put in here to invite, like this. Let's pass in the view, and let's call this invite profiles view. Alright, so now we need to work on the template, but it will be very easy. We just need to copy this, and here we will change simply the name to invite friends. Let's save it, and we need to head over to invite. And there it is. So we have test user 2, test user 4, and test user 3. We don't have a test user. And if we head over to the relationships, here we have a relationship with the test user that is accepted. So if we change this test user 2 relationship to accepted, this test user 2 should disappear. Let's write down accepted, save, refresh, and there's no more test user 2. So this is working. And if it's not understandable, let's look at the terminal. Actually, before we take a look at the terminal, let's put in some separators over here. And over here. Okay, let me refresh again. And let's take a look what we have here. Here we are returning a query set instance where we have all the relationship for our user. So in this case, with the test user, we are the sender, okay, and the test user is the receiver. And the second relationship consists of an object that where the test user is the sender and we are the receiver. So this is for this part, the query set. Then we have the accepted, and here we have the profile for the test user and for ourselves. And also here we have a profile for ourselves and for the test user too. So we have a duplicate of our user. Okay, so this is something that we can maybe eliminate, and we will do it in just a second. But this is because we are simply getting all the accepted relationships. We can be either the sender or the receiver. So actually, let's fix this right away. I'm going to change this accepted to a set, and this will take in only the unique values. and then instead of append we need to write down add. Okay, so now if we save this, hit refresh, let's go back, and right now we have only one of my users. It takes only the unique values, so we don't have a duplicate on my user. Okay, so this problem has been solved, and then over here what do we have? We have the available. So test user 4 and test user 3 are the available ones, because if we head over to the admin, we have here our relationships, okay? And we have a relationship with the test user and the test user 2. Both are accepted. If we head over to the profiles, we still have test user 3 and test user 4, which are available to invite. Yeah, you can see it over here, and you can see it over here. Okay, so right now I hope this is understandable. We will finish off over here. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It was a little bit more advanced than the things that we did so far. Yeah, and thank you for making through. Hope to see you again soon. Take care, have a great day, and bye bye.